I'm not perfect, God, neither are you. Tell these salty motherfuckers to tell the truth. Tell politicians to give up the rooms. Tell silent voters to stand up to the booth.
God, it's me. Can you hear my plea? Feeling like I'm lost in this world, can't you see? Demons creeping in, trying to take control of me. But I'm just trying to find the light, trying to break free. I'm not perfect, God, neither are you. But why you keep forgetting me? What did I do? Trying to have a convo, but you starting to preach. Feeling like I'm on a leash. Can't find no peace, can't find no peace. Living in hell, can't you hear my plea? I'm suffocating, can't you see? Why you let these false prophets roam free? While the well-run suffer, can't you see? I'm not perfect, God, neither are you. Why you keep targeting me? What did I do? Trying to have a convo, but you starting to preach. Feel like I'm on a leash, can't find no peace.
Hardest battles, strongest soldiers, greatest burden, broadest shoulders. Pushing up just like these boulders. This conflict like it's water, so this mercy, take my chalice. Seeking grace through all this malice. All of these salty motherfuckers to give out.
Politics and senators, they all the same. Got me stuck in this endless game. But I won't give up, won't play the role. Gotta do what's best
for my soul.
I'm not perfect, God. Neither are you. Tell these salty motherfuckers to tell the truth. Tell these politicians to give up the room. Tell silent voters to stand up to the booth. Living wild but truthfully free. God keep on watching over me. Take my plea.
Good morning. So I wanted to talk about the long con, right? And I wanted to basically, when we talk about the long con, it's exposing Minnesota's corruption. And what I'm talking about that is I'm going to really get into a lot today about Minnesota's history and the history with corruption, because a lot of it comes down to words that people honestly don't understand, or maybe they don't want to understand. You know what I'm saying? Because they're not paid to be a thinker, especially when it comes down to bettering themselves. So before I get into all of that, I want to get into Louis Blaze, Failing Forward, trap poetry. You know, we like to play independent music here. So with that being said, Louis Blaze.
Whoa, I'm so far from home, and I just wanna go, but fear's on the road. Whoa, I'm so far from home, and I just want. I may not be on right now, but I'm on my way. Hey, hey. Said I may not be on right now, but I'm on my way. Yeah, but I'm on my way. And if I should fall, please give me a call. Let me know that you love me and really walk and don't talk. Gotta show me you care and that the loyalty is strong. I remember when I'm on and watch over when I'm gone. Oh, look. Sometimes I get lost on my quest to succession, taking the wrong turn and finding another bridge that's burned. I live and learn and continue to go through my lessons. As I reach the peak of my adolescence, I keep asking myself questions. They running through my head like a bank robber on the speed chase, running through red lights. His peripheral sight's a 16-wheeler to the right, but it's too late, it crashed and smashed. That's what happens when we stuck in survival mode, so we'll put it all on the line for some cash. Growing up fast and misguided, surrounded by violence and people in disguises who just lie, despise them. But it's the life of survival. And our vital interest is only to live. Possess power like politicians if we feel we got something to give or something to create. Manifest an idea and let the whole world see it, hear it, smell it, feel it, even give it a taste. But how do you take that prototype through a test that would generate generational wealth for the ones who depend on you now and when you're gone? Because this is more than yourself. Born with a perfect core of health and was diagnosed with psychic pounds on the way. Made a vow to escape this dark place 1,000 miles away from home. All alone because it is some things you gotta do on your own. That's the reason my phone is on airplane mode. Diving into my soul cause I was out of my zone. Frozen for some time, close to a decline. Working on opening my mind. Now controlling the mind cause at the same time you think of thoughts you never thought before. It's a blessing and a curse, but once you realize you're more blessed, then that is when you soar. Recognize the purpose are the ones you do it for, who you adore. The same ones with you who will walk into the store to split $1, just a little Debbie cake you can afford. The same ones with you who were willing to do anything for a meal, who was down when things got real, who was down to build and accept your leadership skills, who showed up to the shows because you was on the bill. So while you climb this hill, just know it takes time to heal. And the grind is real, but failing forward is inside of the deal. Fail forward, yeah. And I said, I may not be on right now, but I'm on my way, yeah. But I'm on my way, hey, hey, yeah. Said, I may not be on right now, but I'm on my way, but I'm on my way. And if I should fall, please give me a call. Let me know that you love me and really walk and don't talk. Gotta show me you care and that the loyalty is strong. I remember when I'm on and watch over when I'm gone. Oh, and I said, whoa, I'm so far from home and I just wanna go, but fear's on the road. Fell forward.
That was Louis Blaze, Failing Forward, trap poetry. Oh, damn, man, I got something we definitely want to get into today, and that is talking about the difference between African Americans and Black immigrants and Black Americans, right? Did slavery affect your family, right? The middle ground. That's literally what I want to talk about kind of this morning a little bit. And it's really interesting to hear other individuals, you know, they want that. It's better to just hear them say it, you know what I'm saying, coming out the horse's mouth. So let me get into this real quick.
Me coming from Africa, I came here to better my life. And I feel like personally, we need to stop using the word racism when we don't get something or when something don't go our way. And just
let me jump in real quick. No disrespect, but racism exists, and I have to acknowledge it. And I can't just ignore it, but what I can do is not buy into the system.
Right. I saw this as a good conversation.
Step forward if you agree. Slavery affected my family.
Yeah, I mean, that's just evident in my last name, King. I mean, that's the brand of the slave owner that put that name on my family all those years ago, and I'm still wearing it in those ways, along with the compounded, you know, economic disparity, social disparity, mental trauma, all of that. I mean, it's tethered forever.
So to go back to slavery and talk about post-traumatic stress disorder, it has never stopped. So there is no post. What my great-grandparents were teaching my grandparents, who taught my mother, who taught me, came from what they learned through slavery. So there's a lot of fear, a lot of insecurity, a fear of society, a fear of law enforcement. So slavery has made a major impact where the low self-esteem is consistently reoccurring. I think for me, growing up in Los Angeles, California in the early 1960s, there was a stereotype that I didn't want to be black, I didn't want to be African because we come from Africa or we're slaves. So I want to be a Chinese boy, I want to be Bruce Lee. So growing up like that, I didn't like myself and who I was. I didn't like the color of my skin or the way that I spoke. So I emulated other people. I wanted to be something that I was not.
It's very saddening when you can literally only go back a couple generations and then it's like the documents just don't exist. There's no record. It's like, you know, my family has completely been erased. In that same point too, in the time that we've been here, we've created an incredible culture and we have so many things to be proud of. And I always reframe the narrative myself and I speak of my ancestors that were enslaved as, you know, doctors and healers. And it's like, you know, we were taken because we were talented, right. You know, because we had skills to offer. And we built this country, so.
And still building.
And still building, and that's something to take pride in, so.
Can the disagree a step forward?
If you're looking to sell your car, Carvana will give you a real offer in seconds.
In seconds. Carvana, go get a car.
Slavery didn't affect my family, but we did suffer a different type of slavery back home. Like we went through colonization. Like I am Bamileke. There was a massacre of Bamileke. You guys can like look it up. They killed like more than 300,000 of my people because we didn't want to assimilate to the French culture. But it's still nothing compared to what you guys' ancestors like been through, you know?
I wouldn't want to minimize that pain though. What you just said hurt me. That 300,000 people were killed because they would not conform to the colonization of the French people. So that is just as painful and hurtful as the trauma that we suffered here in America.
I can't share the same experience that you have went through and your family, even though we also had our own type of slavery.
African.
We had apartheid at the time, you know, where the Dutch people took over and they wanted to just have South Africa, Namibia, and I think other countries where we could only just speak Dutch. It's somehow still happening even now. There's like a place in South Africa where it's called Orania, you know, and it's just Dutch people there. No black person is even allowed there. So we still somehow feel that oppression even now, but it's nothing compared to what your ancestral history, you know, has gone through. I'm somehow happy that you guys have forgiven it, even though you haven't forgotten it. Have you forgiven it? I mean, like your face, like.
Do that, but me personally, no, I haven't. But I want to work through the change. But no, I have not forgiven because it's a system that's still going on. And from what I'm hearing from you guys, there's a system that's still going on in Africa as well, and it's a war on us.
Racism is the main cause of poverty among black people in America.
Racism is a very big issue that, talking about it, I'm really trying to be careful to not like say anything that will be insensitive. If opportunity is right here, they will give it to people of other race than African American and Africans too. So if there's a job that maybe have math requirement, I feel like they'll pick an Asian person, or they believe, oh, African Americans will not dress appropriate, so they will pick another person. They will always like pick people that are not black over people that are black.
And I also think, I think the crucial like missing point when we talk about economic disparity, time. Time is the most valuable currency. And if you have like a stock that's like the American dream is the stock, and you know, during all that time, all that asset, the American dream was appreciating, and you're not allowed to take out business loans, you're not allowed to read, you're not allowed to write, you had to first fight to become 3/5 of a citizen, then you got Jim Crow, and then you got everything else. It's like, you're now having to buy in at a price so high because the time is irreparable. You can't get that back. One black person today cannot, in one lifetime, achieve what generations of white families were able to do simply because they didn't have to compete with us to do it.
I agree with you totally. Like,
Yeah, I was thinking, just like you said, from a historical standpoint, we start with slavery, and that's centuries, generations of stolen labor, like you said. Then we get into Jim Crow, which is just an extension of that. Then we have redlining, we have mass incarceration, we have events like the bombing of Tulsa and Rosewood in Florida, and all these different examples of our wealth being decimated. And I don't say that to come from a defeatist or a victim mindset, but I think if we just have an honest conversation about history and what we've gone through when we've been here, racism is definitely a big part of that. And there are a lot of successful Black Americans, a lot of millionaires, a lot of, business owners, but they're exceptions for sure for a reason. And there's a big difference between income and wealth. I would like to challenge the ideal that African Americans are lazy or that we don't have a good work ethic. I think there's this perception that, we're here, we're in America, how are we not doing better for ourselves? So.
I thought I was going to be the only one staying. I was going to be like, oh, I'm about to be like Kanye West. But okay, there's a lot of things we can use as an excuse to hold us back, to not to reach our potential. But it's up to us to look past that. Like me coming from Africa, I came here to better my life, my family. I'm the only one here. And since I have been here, there's a lot of bad things that happened to me. There's also a lot of good things that happened to me. Us African or African American, we need to look past racism and just focus on our own goal. Like, what do we want to achieve? We need to stop using the word racism when we don't get something or when something don't go our way, and just keep trying.
So let me jump in real quick. No disrespect, but racism exists, and I have to acknowledge it. And I can't just ignore it. But what I can do is not buy into the system. If I want to do something, let me be the entrepreneur. What I believe happened in the 1960s is that we started looking for equal rights, to be equal with other people. And what we stopped doing, and I heard you talk about Tulsa, we stopped using the Black-owned businesses. Now, because you guys got to understand, the Fair Housing Act in 1968, I'm 5 years old. That's when we could move off the east side of LA and move into other subcultures. So what I wanted to do at 8 years old was go to IHOP. I didn't want to go to the Ma and Pa restaurant anymore. I want to go to, let's go eat at the hotels. So what we did is stop supporting each other and started supporting corporate America. So the racism plays a major part, but we don't have to buy into it.
I have been waiting to disagree with you, my brother. I'm waiting patiently. The thing is, even though I want to disagree with you, I get where you're coming from. When I see Black people talking about racism, all that stuff, I'm like, what is wrong with these people? You guys have food, you have EBT, all these things, and you're here shouting about somebody is racist too. Just leave that person and move on. I feel that way. Like, why are they always complaining? But when Black Lives Matters started happening, I sat down, I said, I need to actually know why these people are pained. And if we look at the history, what they've done to them, if you actually sit down, watch some documentaries, how they were maltreated, I don't think if I'm actually born, I will forgive those people. I don't care. It's easier for us Africans that were raised in Africa to feel like they're complaining because we were raised through struggle. I barely even have water, and you have water, you're complaining. But then, it's not about the basic necessity or about how we are raised. We are raised I don't want to say way better. We might not have resources, but there are some way, our own people will not look down on us or put us behind. So it's in they're nurtured that way. They just can't overlook it. And if you sit down and watch everything that the forefathers have been through for real, I changed my mind. No, they need to be angry. However, they should still move forward.
I mean, we have police brutality back home too.
True.
We have if you go to Cameroon and then you see how the police officer treat us, and they're Black just like us, you're not even gonna believe it, And in Cameroon we have this. Have you guys heard of the word tribalism? So
it happens in Nigeria.
So we do get oppressed too. And
I agree.
So when I'm saying we need to look past that, I'm not saying forget what happened to you guys or me. At the end of the day, we cannot just sit and just grieve on the past. We have to be able to move on, but not forget. If I could choose a place to live, it would obviously be my country. I love my country, but right now, my country is not the best choice for me. There's a little genocide going on in Cameroon right now. So many innocent lives have been taken. If I was still in my country, the opportunity that I have here, I would not have those opportunities there.
Hip-hop reinforces stereotypes about the Black community.
Uh-oh, we have a conversation.
In South Africa, we have our own version of hip-hop, so we call it kwaito. So they would rap in our own language, we call it vernac. So back home, it kind of did reinforce some stereotypes, because now when you go out in the world, people will just classify you under one group.
Right.
And growing up, also looking at American entertainment, looking at the hip hop that's done here, I'm like, oh well, you're rapping about drugs, you're rapping about this. Of course it's going to happen. Of course you're going to go to jail. But getting older, you see the culture as well of hip hop. I had to understand that there's a culture within that.
I was alive when hip hop started, and it was during a time where people rapped about what they saw, what they wanted in life. And then it became where people rapped about what they had been through, what they had gotten over.
Now
they're
rapping about
used
what
to
they're
sell
doing.
drugs, used to hurt people, but now this is who they are. And I think it's gotten into now, and in our day and age now, it's where people are glorifying and wanting to pretend that these are the things that they do on a daily basis when it's not. So it went from storytelling to now really it's truly storytelling, but it's unhealthy for our culture.
I don't want to on my radio and all I'm hearing is, I put a bullet in it, something. Like, I'm like, eh? That's what you would do? No, like, sorry. And then it's like, it's all about like, talking about female body type, the booty, the thing, like don't talk about my booty like that. So I don't want to listen to something that portray me as a female that way, or something that is talking about how you put bullets in my head. Like if you actually do not come to America and see for yourself, you would think that most African Americans are carrying guns around and they just shoot randomly. Or they just grab your ass or something like that. That's the way the music portray them. And music is a very important element in our society because it influences a lot of people, both young and adult. And then they kind of see all those stuff and they act like that, even though that's not what they really want to be. They act like that and behave like that. Like if all these rappers are your role model, then you want to be like them. You want to be cool too. So in the end, it's about like the people that are packaging the music, and sometimes about trend is what people want to hear.
The American dream is only for white people.
The American dream is only for white people.
I believe that the American dream is only for white people because it says equal. And when we talk about equal, there's no equality between the 1%, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the Trumps, and the people who really run the media and things of that nature. So for black people growing up in America and living in America, we could become rich, we could become wealthy, but we are not on the equal playing field of white America. The system of white supremacy, which is in the law enforcement, which is in the judicial system, which is in the prison industrial association, also in the politics. We are not equal in any of those terms.
When I was back there and when you were speaking, I started thinking like, could we ever actually, as black people, have the American dream here in America? And I don't know if we really can, I'm trying to be careful with my words, but I do think there needs to be a degree of separatism. Like black people, we really need to have our own, to fully take part in that dream.
This is their system. Why would we dream of being equal in a system that wasn't designed for us?
That's a big one.
The American dream, at least the way that I define it, is, freedom of opportunity, freedom to choose what I want to do, freedom to acquire wealth the same way that anybody else can. Obviously, we're fighting the tides of time on that and our circumstances, but it's hard because it's hard to honor that, but then also want more for myself. And I think that as black people, we're always teeter-tottering on that line of like, well, am I American? Like, do I get the American dream, or do we just tear all this down and build something new? White people are not the only people entitled to the American dream ever. And I think that that's why we're all here, because our ancestors made it so that we can stand here and pursue that American dream.
I wouldn't have been here if it meant that it was not for everyone. I wouldn't have even entered America. I feel like not just African, but other people as well in different countries. And from what I have seen, I've seen other people, even Africans and African Americans, succeeding in their own way. And that's why I feel like you said, you can interpret the American dream in a different way, whatever industry or whatever it is that you're focusing on, because there is a level of opportunity there. there is some way that you can be successful. You know, talking about Trevor Noah, you know, who took over The Daily Show, it wouldn't have been possible for him coming in as an African. He got his American dream. It made us, as well, other Africans, believe that it is possible.
The American dream writes his check. So he gets to have wealth or whatever it is that he's experiencing, but the American dream is the one who writes his check, not him.
I agree with you. I agree with you. But do you see how we would put it as he had his American dream, even though someone writes his check? But for him, or for some of us looking at it on the other side, that's his American dream, because his goal was to get there. The biggest cultural shock I saw coming here was definitely the lifestyle. Because the lifestyle I saw of America, especially Los Angeles, was portrayed as a very rich lifestyle. And of course, I came here as a student, and coming here, living here, and seeing the reality of it, seeing different homeless people, disadvantaged people, was really a cultural shock for me, because I didn't expect to see that. And I guess also the way people were handling each other, because coming in as an African, I thought people were together. But since being here, I saw that there was a huge divide, or there is still a huge divide within the African American community themselves.
If he had stayed in South Africa, would he have the same opportunity that he had here?
No.
Like, you know, so corporate is writing his check, but like us growing up, the reason we move here is because we don't have it better back home. Like for me, I'm the first person ever in my family in America. Everybody else is back home. Everybody's depending on me. Like, all of them, my mom, she's dying to come here. Like, she's willing to do anything just for her to be in America. So for me, when I look at those like little things, I'm like, yeah, American dream is for everybody, you know? Like, yeah, we might not have the same opportunity as the white people, but there's still that little chance that a lot of us back home are willing to take just to get here.
And we're sure this is shocking for many.
That's
of you
very,
that
very
exist
true.
here in the news and
I trust law enforcement.
Nobody going up there for that.
To say.
All right, can the disagreeer step forward?
I got married to a young lady who did 15 years in prison for a robbery she didn't commit. I myself was incarcerated for 6 months for a burglary that I couldn't have committed because I was in prison.
Damn.
So in 1987, I'm doing 19 months in prison. When I came home in 1988, I was given a burglary charge and I had to sit 6 months. And the judge did not kick it out because there's no way I could have done it. He kicked it out because they didn't serve me the warrant while I was in prison. So they lie and they do things and it affects our people. So many people I know who have been wrongfully arrested, wrongfully convicted, and they actually lie on the stand, so there's no trust.
As you guys know, I am from Richmond, Virginia. It was the capital of the Confederate. I have been brutally abused by the police there. Like personally, I was at the river on the 4th of July. I don't smoke, I don't do none of that. The police come and arrest me because I look like a drug dealer. Like they arrested me.
What? The stereotype.
Then when I was in high school, my senior year, my father went to jail over a car accident. And I was left alone at 17 years old. I was grateful. One of my teachers took me in and like raised me. I try to stay away from the police as much as possible.
First of all, they're human beings, and I think that just because you put a badge on that doesn't magically bewitch you with like integrity and a desire to actually help the people around you. I think a lot of times police culture comes from police families. It comes from like legacy lines and this whole like kind of like culture about stuff. I mean, I don't trust them any more than I would trust any other person. They haven't earned that necessarily, especially not as an institution. In its purest form, I think it's necessary, but they have a lot of living up to that to do and to make up for if they're going to be trusted.
I've seen law enforcement here on social media and seeing how they treat people of color, you know, from like hitting them. I mean, George Floyd, you know, rest in peace. But just seeing that from my experience being here, I was scared, like every time I'd see a cop pass by, I'm like, okay, I better make sure I'm driving okay, because I don't want to be stopped, or make sure you're not in any harm's way, but it's sad to feel that pressure every time you see a cop going by, and even if they trying to help, but I wouldn't even want that help because of what I've been seeing on social media, and also seeing the case of people being wrongfully, taken to prison. That's like unfair. Like, what type of research are you doing before you arrest people?
And I immediately thought about the history of the police too, just tracing that back to slave patrols,
catchers,
which became our modern day police departments. And
Oh, the fact that like if you have a felony, you can't vote. Like that to me is like, talk about the loss of the American dream. Like you are a citizen, you should always have a right to vote.
Right.
We are obsessed with race in America.
Agree or disagree? I agree with that shit. We're obsessed with that shit.
I think that word obsessed is such an interesting word, and I think that the way that that question is framed is almost as if it's like the onus is on us, like we're obsessed with race too much. Like, no, white people are obsessed with race in this country. They've made their laws based on it. They've cast us out because of it. They've like destroyed entire groups of people because of it. So, I mean, we're just living in the ripple effects of the stones that were cast in the pond of history. So we're just reacting to it. So we would rather just be human beings and American citizens and, people that are pursuing an American dream. We'd rather not have to think about race, but that, we did not draw first blood on that.
what else do you expect?
Yeah, like, I
given the
mean,
history,
I'm not
like,
obsessed.
For me, being in America give me opportunity to like meet and like discover so many different culture that I would never see if I was in my country. I would just like maybe hear about it on the news. Yes, I agree. I think they are very obsessed with race. Even when you do like an easy application, like it doesn't matter what application you do, they want to know your race. They want to know, why they don't have a category for Africans.
That's why I be checking out every time.
They want to know everything.
The thing that pissed me off the most is that when they see you and they be like, oh, you have an accent. Where are you from? Like, who cares where I'm from? Just sell me this thing and let me keep going.
And then when you tell them that you're African, they be like, what country?
Yeah, they're so obsessed with where you're from.
She be like Wakanda.
I'm done.
I don't believe that there's an obsession about race in America. I believe that race is a distraction to hide the power, the wealth, and the access to it. So a lot of times there's something put on the table, like a rock being thrown, and I hold my hand, and that's the racism between black and whites, between blacks and Hispanic, and other cultures have come here. We'll talk about race just so that we don't have access to the power and the wealth, and I think it's done on purpose.
Damn.
There's a power that allows us to talk about race if we don't look past it.
Some of the question prompts that I see differently, and then when I hear somebody say it, I'm like, that actually makes sense coming from their perspective. So it's been really beautiful having this conversation with you guys. You guys are very knowledgeable, and I've learned a whole lot from each and every one of you today.
Going into this with like the title of the series, like African versus African American, I think that like people were gonna come in thinking that we were gonna be like guns blazing, but this is such a beautiful display of unity. I love it. It like gave me so much life today.
That's a good conversation. Very, very good. It's a conversation that needs to be had, I think, because honestly, we tried to make things better for other people. I think like when it comes down to like policies, when it comes down to like legislation, and even in ordinances, like the man said that, he felt like America was obsessed with races because they always want to know, why you want to know what country I'm from, why you want to know what, in Africa, blah, blah, blah. Well, it's because I don't know. I don't, like I said, mixed feelings. Yeah, just because I don't know how we get better. It was like even watching, like I said, even watching that damn fraud committee yesterday. It's insane. You know what I'm saying? Of like how we are. I just don't. It just shows that there's a lot of shit out here that needs to be fixed. I don't know how we fix it, but we need to fix it. Because I want to get to Amy Bach, right? And what she was doing with the fraud with feeding our future, right? Because it goes into something so much bigger, right? And that's what I mean, especially because I wanted to play that conversation, right? Because these services like EBT, Section 8, how first home buyers programs and all those things were for Black Americans. They were for us to achieve that American dream, because when we were enslaved, a lot of these things were illegal. We've had to fight for voting rights. We've had to fight for and that's what I say. There's no disrespect when it comes to the ancestors, right? Because a lot of it they were fighting for all Black people, right? I will say it like this: even though they knew they came over here and their ancestors weren't enslaved, just like the young man up there said with the necklace, he was the only one over here. His mother would do anything to come over here. So we don't even understand that, in other countries, you got whole genocides going on in Cameroon. That's one thing that I like. I was glad that they brought up about that white separatist town in South Africa, right? It's called Ornea. And it was founded by Afrikaners. And it is located along the Orange River in the Karoo region of the North Cape Province. So it's like everywhere, there's somebody got a story everywhere. We can grow from it. But to be honest, I don't feel like we should get away from learning that, because like they said, there's a difference between income and wealth. I'm going to say that again. There's a difference between income and wealth. And until we actually want to agree on that and have a discussion about income and wealth, then, because that's where it's not about, because here's my thing of it is, there isn't an income gap. There's a wealth gap. Not an income gap, but a wealth gap.
Massive Feeding Our Future meal fraud trial. Today's testimony built to a dramatic moment where a witness who already pleaded guilty talked about the kickbacks he paid to participate in the fraud. Lou Ragoose was in the courtroom and joins us live. Lou?
And Julie, this was significant because up to this point, there had been evidence that looked bad for Amy Bach, but a lot of the fraud evidence was at least arm's length away from her. But today, the jury saw a check written by a cooperating defendant to what prosecutors believe was a shell company run only by Amy Bach. Abdul Qadir Awale used to own 3 restaurants, including Sambusa King and Hopkins and Nawal Restaurant in Burnsville, that participated in the federal child nutrition program in 2020. He testified that he legitimately served about 300 meals per day at his restaurants and that it was the hardest work his staff ever did, so he quit after a week. But he testified that Feeding Our Future employee Abdul Idle convinced him to reconsider, and that lots of other people were making big money by inflating the numbers. So Awale agreed to pose as a food vendor, claiming to provide thousands of meals every day from Sambusa King to other meal sites, including a nearby tutoring center, helping other sites steal $11 million while Awale kept $2 million himself. Prosecutor Matthew Ebert asked him, "Why did you do that?" Awale's response, "Basically, to get more money than I should." Awale also testified about paying kickbacks to Idle in order to continue participating in the fraud.
Kickbacks.
The problem for prosecutors, Idle isn't currently on trial. They say he fled to Somalia when the feds began investigating. And not much of today's testimony seemed to center on former Feeding Our Future Executive Director Amy Bach or her co-defendant Salim Saeed. In cross-examination, Bach's lawyer Kenneth Udoybach asked, "Did you ever write a check to Amy Bach?" Awale said no. "Did you ever give cash to Amy Bach?" No. Then prosecutors came back with a gotcha moment, revealing that one of Awale's checks, written for $2,800 to school-age consultants, went into an account controlled only by Amy Bach. Now, Bach's defense has been that at Feeding Our Future, those underneath her, such as Idle, were committing fraud without her knowing it. So this was the first direct payment to Bach that was shown to the jury, although a witness last week did testify about a donation that they provided to Bach. There's also been testimony and evidence that showed that Bach should have known that this fraud was going on beneath her because she was in charge of this nonprofit, and also because of the trouble she caused the education department once they became suspicious. Back to you.
Well, Lou, I know you've been following this since news broke that it was happening, and that's always been the question. How, if she was the mastermind, was she not getting paid so handsomely as these other alleged fraudsters were?
Yeah, and there definitely is not evidence that she received nearly as much money as these other defendants that we've heard about, but these amounts do add up, and we'll have to see how much more of that type of evidence prosecutors bring forward in this trial.
All right.
That is curious. Now, that leaves a lot up for debate, And I want to get into something that happened yesterday, right? It was the fraud prevention and state agency oversight. I want to play this part because some things do come out, and people are going to be like, wait, what? Oh, wait, this might not be I don't have it set up. But I do, maybe that is what I want to play. But I want to play Natalie's part because it tripped me out. Like, how don't people know this? Like, and I don't understand it. So here you hear them asking some questions, right? And there are some very good ones.
Because it's not illegal
Oh,
in the
Marion,
state of
all right,
Minnesota.
not Natalie. So
Help me understand this. So you just said, I think, that it's federally illegal to do kickbacks, but you can't stop it here in the state of Minnesota because it's not illegal in the state of Minnesota. So if it's federally illegal and you're getting some money is federal money coming through Minnesota in all kinds of different forms and fashions through DHS, billions and billions of dollars come from the federal government. Help me understand why we think here in Minnesota that we can't stop kickbacks when it's federally illegal to do so. Help me understand that.
Commissioner Gandhi.
Chair Robbins, Representative, I believe the issue is that we are not able to prosecute it effectively.
Representative
We can't. Well, the DHS isn't going to be prosecuting it, but you certainly can turn it over to your federal partners, the FBI and others, just as what happened with Feeding Our Futures. And, you know, I remember a decade ago when there were, and I talked to somebody who literally saw this at the airport, there were suitcases full of millions and millions of dollars. And we couldn't substantiate for sure how many hundreds of millions of dollars came out of CCAP, but there was at least some. And that was a decade ago. So now you're saying that we know that we have kickbacks. We have kickbacks pervasive in state government. There is a federal law prohibiting it, but we don't have the authority to stop it here in Minnesota. I don't understand how those two can be in the same sentence. Madam Chair, I don't understand this at all. Like, they already said they have relationships with the FBI and others. It was pervasively throughout their presentation. And yet we know that there's kickbacks. We know it's federally illegal, Madam Chair, and yet we don't have the authority somehow to stop it. I don't understand this, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Help me understand.
I really don't either of how, like, kickbacks are illegal, but we sit there and allow it to go on. Now, I want to get into this part of yesterday's committee hearing because this was very interesting. So you're going to hear Krista Robbins, the chair at Walter's not there, right there. So he didn't come until later. And it's interesting. But listen to this between DHS and Krista.
Notify us and you can jump in. So I just wanted to follow up on this slide before we move on. Of the cases where they have stopped payments, how many of those were referred for criminal investigation?
Chair Robbins, we would need to get that number for you.
Okay, thank you. And then were there any changes in licensure in those? Were they put on suspension or revocation or anything? I'd also like to know, what's the threshold at which you stop payment? And, in those instances, if you could give us more detail on that.
Yeah, I would be happy, I mean, in terms of this specific 79, we would need to go back and look at the records and determine what we can share. But in terms of stop payment, I can give you that information now, the
Perfect.
threshold. Okay. So under state law, DHS can only act to stop or end CCAP payments if the provider is operating after receiving an order of suspension, revocation, or decertification, if the provider intentionally gives false information on billing forms or submits false attendance records, if there's a credible allegation of fraud, if the provider refuses access to attendance records. And I think I cover that also a little bit later in the presentation.
I might be getting ahead, but
Okay.
thank you. That's helpful context. Appreciate it. Oh, and Lead Pinto has a question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And actually, I'm seeing, maybe you'll end up getting to this, but just the, there's a reference to referral to criminal investigation in the slide, and then there's also the Child Care Audits and Investigations Unit, and just understanding to what extent is the unit looking only at criminal fraud cases versus are there other kinds of situations where payments may be stopped besides criminal fraud? Like other, just sort of understanding the scope of the unit and what part of it is fraud or criminal fraud versus other things going on, if that question makes sense, Chair and testifier.
Ms. Gandhi.
Chair Robbins, Representative Pinto, yes, the investigations unit can take a number of administrative steps, and I'm going to cover those as we move forward. And then they also, if they see, if they believe there is fraud present, will refer it to law enforcement for further investigation and prosecution.
Okay, I'll leave that for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Please continue.
So when DHS receives concerning information about a provider, it goes through this workflow. And I thought this might be helpful for the committee to understand the process that we use in our Office of Inspector General. So the first step is that there's an internal or administrative inquiry process to evaluate the concern. If it's determined a crime may have been committed, the case is referred to law enforcement for further investigation. If it's not clear, then a civil or administrative regulatory examination continues. For investigation, if it's not clear a crime has been committed, but there's problematic behavior, a full civil investigation begins. This examines the behavior in relation to our program's rules, regulations, procedures, and the statutory framework. If at any point in this process the investigation uncovers criminal activity, then it is again referred to law enforcement for further investigation and prosecution potentially. If there's improper conduct, but it's not criminal conduct, then the Inspector General pursues appropriate civil remedies. If the case is referred to the criminal investigation to the BCA, it'll be presented for possible charging by a prosecutor at the end of the investigation. And that does not prohibit our office from additional civil remedies. So going a little bit deeper on fraud investigations. Criminal fraud is defined as the intentional deception of a person or entity for monetary or personal gain. DHS has ongoing relationships with state and federal law enforcement to prosecute fraud. Investigations are based on tips, complaints, and data analytics, which allow DHS to take a risk-based approach to focusing its resources on investigations. When DHS finds suspected fraud, it refers the case to the BCA at the Minnesota Department of Public Safety, a law enforcement agency, so that they can conduct a criminal investigation. And DHS also works with federal law partners such as the FBI.
Excuse me, Vice Chair Anderson.
Thank you, Assistant Commissioner. I had a question. So you said earlier that when this occurs, when there's suspected fraud, that you can cut off the payments. And do you do that right away? Do you cut off the payments right away when there's suspected fraud, when a case is referred?
Yes, statute, we are allowed to for credible allegations of fraud.
But do you typically do that?
I think Madam Chair, Representative. Sorry. Yes, so it's a case-by-case basis made by looking at the facts.
Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Anderson. And to follow up on that, so of the number of cases that are referred for a fraud investigation, how many do you stop payment on, or have you stopped payment on in the last year? Of the ones that have been referred for a fraud, credible allegation of fraud, how many have you stopped payment on?
None.
Let
None.
me see if I have that data.
None. None.
You've got the 79 stop payments.
Yeah.
79.
Yeah, I have the number of the 79 payments, but it's specifically the way that you're asking for the data to be looked at, I don't have that number handy.
Great.
But I
Well,
can get it for you.
Yeah, if you'd follow up, great. Thank you. All right.
Madam Chair.
Oh, Representative Rarick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So back on slide 4, you said that you'd recovered $2.4 million. When you say recovered, do you mean you actually went to those daycare providers and got money back, or you just stopped payment?
Recoveries are getting money back. And then there's also, in addition to recoveries, there's avoidance of ongoing payments. That's a separate category.
Representative Rarick.
Thank you. Maybe I need to.
There go Walter.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair.
He's
Okay,
running
so
late.
you've actually, so I'm assuming that was through a criminal process, because you wouldn't have the power to actually go in and empty their bank accounts or anything like that. So can you let me know, like, I know that the chair asked the same thing kind of about how many criminal investigations there have been, and you talked about it going to the BCA, but have you sent any to the FBI or some of our U.S. attorney folks here? You know, the ones that
They're
we're
friends.
dealing with Feeding
Why
Our
would they?
Futures. Has anything from the CCAP
What about
crossed
your
over into Feeding Our Future?
friends?
Ms. Gandhi.
Madam Chair, Representative, I think I'm going to try to keep track of the several questions there. Starting with the Feeding Our Future, since that case broke, our team has been taking all of the information that we are able to get and making sure to look at those individuals, make sure we have all of the right identifying data to have the right person. And then we've looked in our programs, both CCAP and the Medicaid program, in order to see if any activity was taking place in DHS that was concerning. And so far, we have not found any activity that we were not already watching and taking action on.
That's weird.
But we continue to evaluate that. And
I will say, you know, I want to get into other things on this show, but I thought that was really weird of, you know, it's time for us to get involved. You know what I'm saying? It's honestly time for us to get involved, because I will say like this, you know, I talked about a bill yesterday, Max Reimer, the Fathers Project, right? But then I looked into the goodwill, and if I'm wrong, you know, I'll gladly apologize to these people, right? But my thing of it is, board members shouldn't be making damn near this kind of over all of them, damn near $300,000. That's $1 million between three motherfuckers. I don't understand that. You know, that's crazy as hell to me. I look at what these people make that run nonprofits, and then we're over here writing legislation for this shit to happen. They're asking for $2 million. I don't even understand this, right? Because their budget isn't even $2 million. So how are you paying 3 people almost damn near $1 million? That's half your money you're asking for. I don't understand that. Why do we keep on doing that? Oh, y'all can't see it. I don't think you're gonna be able to. Let me see if I can. Oh yeah, I can. There we go. Yeah. Oh shit. Look at that money though. $378,000, one salary. $292,000, another salary. $286,000, another salary for 3 people. That's almost a motherfucking $1 million. Excuse my language, but I'm really so tired of this, man, because people are out there suffering. People are out there struggling, and we out here, that's the one crazy thing is we get riled up over nonprofits getting screwed over, but what about the community? That's what I really want to talk about. What about the community? Because this is my crazy thing of it is, right? Everybody's taken care of. The churches, nonprofits, but we leave behind kids. We got everybody want to be a civil rights attorney. All these civil rights cases out here. Why ain't y'all being an attorney? This is what y'all went to school for. Oh, because it's going to sue your friends. You can't do that shit. I really started to understand that shit. So why do we call them civil rights attorneys, but these motherfuckers ain't even taking any cases? Esquire. Come on, man. We're so enamored with titles. We care about what people, oh yeah, they're an Esquire, so yeah, they know. Man, come on, man. Why are we still seeing this same old shit? Why are we seeing police fucking over niggas? But we got all these civil rights attorneys in the hood. I don't even get that shit. I don't even get that. We got so many niggas in the hood. But who doing anything about anything? Nobody. That's what I don't understand, man. It's like, it's crazy as hell to me. To be honest, it's, I don't even know, man. It's crazy as hell. Because it's like, we got to live through this shit. And then if it affects you, there's not much you can do about it because, do you have any money to sit there and go to court about it, to sue corporations, to, sue about it, to make sure that you're taken care of, you're made sure that you're taken care of. So I want to get into these headlines from what happened from yesterday. And there were some big ones. So I want you to pay attention to, because I'm going to get into these next 2 stories. And I want to talk about something.
County Sheriff's deputies to resign.
So this is footage of a rough arrest. It's now sparking controversy, and we do want to warn you, it may be hard for some of you to watch.
Get your hand. That's no hand back. It's not doing it. I'm doing it now.
What's up?
So this happened last month in Minneapolis. You can see a Hennepin County deputy deliver multiple blows to that man's head.
I want to talk about
Last
that,
night,
man.
the sheriff's office says that the deputies reported him resisting
Bless up,
and
Mike.
properly documented their use of force. They say that he was a felon with a firearm. Now, the sheriff's office also said, in part, it is conducting a review to determine appropriate next steps, and this video will now be part of that ongoing review. But this morning, a humanitarian organization called Lion of Judah is gathering to call for those deputies to resign. They say they want a, quote, thorough investigation and proper accountability. They will be having a press conference. It'll be 11 this morning. You see the address. It is at 2124 East Franklin Avenue. A Minnesota missionary's wife is now charged in his murder. This according to the family's pastor.
The Stroyer family spent the past 3 years in the African nation of Angola. The father, Bo, died in November. Investigators there think his wife orchestrated it with a few other local men. The Detroit Lakes Church wrote, quote, as a result of former charges, it is our understanding that she will remain in custody and tried before a judge, end quote. They added Bo and Jackie's children will continue to be cared for by close family back home.
This morning, another video of another scare in the air. This is aboard a Delta flight that's heading to South Carolina. It happened just after takeoff on Monday morning. The plane did turn around and it landed back in Atlanta. So in this picture here, you can see the plane deployed its safety slides. Thankfully, no one was hurt, but one passenger said it took several minutes for flight attendants to jump into action. And you probably remember just last week, a Delta flight from Minneapolis essentially barrel rolled down a Toronto runway while crash landing. All 80 people on board survived, including the 4 crew members. And now some of those
This shit
passengers
start
are
getting
filing
dangerous
lawsuits
to
against the
motherfucking fly, man. I will say that. But so that with the cops that you just seen there was another incident last year. And I want to show that real quick, right? And watch this shit, because it's like, when are we actually going to get change? You know, so let's watch this shit. I just don't get it.
These folks. Fuck. Gotta come get my brother, nigga. All because they smelt weed?
Legal. Look at the date.
Well, I mean, was he speeding? Expired
date.
tabs? He was speeding?
Can't even ask questions.
I sure will. But I paid my property taxes to live over here. I mean, like, we're literally already going through enough. You know what I mean? But okay.
So this is on Penn and the Lowe's. This is the beginning, right when you get off Ocean Memorial. Take that left. Oh wait, no.
Oh, I saw you a drinker or a driver. I can see. But for him to get pulled over, he was speeding.
Is it a legal thing to pull somebody over for? Because there's multiple.
I don't know. I do.
You
It
invited
is
yourself
what it
to
is.
something that doesn't matter. Is it against the law?
It does, though. Yeah, to speed. But we do. I just said my brother was murdered by a state trooper, so we are just taking cautious. That wasn't murder at all. Okay, well, not to you. It wasn't. That's your opinion. Everybody got an asshole. That's your opinion.
That's it.
That's your opinion, because everybody got an ass. They haven't been. It was dropped because she was forced, though, at the end of the day. So it's cool, though. It don't even matter. I get it. Support yours, and I'm gonna support mine. That's it. But we still got a whole case over it, so it doesn't even matter for real. But at the end of the day, I just want to celebrate my birthday. This is bullshit.
We're celebrating. No one's stopping you.
I mean, I'm caring for my brother, and I'm not talking to you, love. Please stop talking to me.
You don't want to have comments like that. You understand me? So, no, that ain't what's up at all. You know, you all have your opinion, we have ours, and we're going to prove what's really going on. That's and great. I just don't want to. Nobody actually talked to either of you until you talked to us.
Oh, wow.
Ain't nobody even talking to you no more. You rude as hell. I thought we need de-escalation police. Where y'all at? Ain't they supposed to be de-escalating? When folks is irate and stuff, not provoking it? Oh, okay. Clearly, huh? Clowns. That's it. That's it. That's it. I need de-escalation police, because this other one is sarcastic as hell.
Well, Tavia, don't treat it at all. Because that's not going to help the situation at all, period.
No, apparently.
But then look how many SWAT cars it took for a traffic stop again.
Maybe. Shit. If you scared, go to church. He was aggressive. Let me forget. We heard, oh, you were being too aggressive. So that's why.
Right.
To each his own. To each his reach. Because I called my people up too. How I pulled up so fast. Skirt, skirt.
Facts.
Period.
We got to do that sometimes. We got to pull up. It's the only time these niggas want to act right.
That's gangs talking. Period.
It is, if he had just did what they asked him to do, step out the car. Look at that. Look, you should have seen them get out. You should have seen what he was like getting out.
I bet. Yeah, weird. This one's rude. He rude.
There's a reason. And then he has a long
Yeah.
ass.
What we gonna do with his car? Can we pull the windows up?
So you can already tell Minneapolis police be on bullshit. And they probably continually will be. And I always thought, you know, that's the one thing of it is, right? I consider myself a conservative, because I was raised, my values, my integrity, my morals, they're conservative. But a progressive conservative. And I'm not saying, I say fuck the police, because in my eyes, we need to eradicate that system. Because if it's built on bullshit, if it's built on something that was bogus, how do you expect it to be good? How do you expect any of those roots to be fruitful, prosperous? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I don't understand how people get mad when you say that we need to, we need to eradicate, we need to abolish. And what I'm saying by that, we need to restart, we need to regrow it, because our foundation is fucked up. It's crumbling. And if people don't see that, because I will tell you like this, I see a lot of individuals, coming up this Friday is that economic blackout bullshit, right? And it's like, come on, man, one day, really? And I get it. But then it made me think about that. Let's go back to the old days when we really supported each other. But instead, when they made it possible for us to go eat in restaurants that we couldn't before, we forgot about our values, because we wanted to be something that we couldn't be for so long, that people fought for. They wanted to go fight to eat in the IHOP. Like you heard the man. He wanted to go eat at an IHOP. So he let mom and pops alone, the little restaurants, because they were able to go places that they could never go before. Drinking in a white, I bet you motherfuckers are showing off. But has it hurt us? Because honestly, I feel like every time that we've let the government, these elected officials, and that's the one thing that I will tell you like this, you're seeing a lot of things come out, no matter if it's feeding our future, no matter if it's the fraud committees, ways and means, public safety, you're seeing things come out like, damn, all that really mattered was some words. For them to do the right thing, all that mattered was some words. But because we're too dumb, I'm going to say it, we're too dumb. That's the one thing. I consider myself a conservative, not a Republican, a conservative, not a Republican. I didn't vote for Trump, but I argue with these motherfuckers all day. I didn't vote for the Ho either. I didn't vote for Harris. I voted for an independent candidate, not my local. I understood it. I wasn't voting Democrat. Hell no, I don't agree with that shit. So it took me to the Republican Party. It took me to the Republican Party. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll be straight up. I'll be straight up. I'll be straight up. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I wanted. I want to get into Ben's comment, right? Because he said these Republicans act like they are investigating, but don't, because one of their lobbyists is former Senator Amy Koch from Nancy Hayden's law firm, right? And again, those are things that they also don't want to talk about, right? And they are funded by the same corporations, part of feeding our future. Walter doesn't like to discuss, like, what was the Gallus for Goals event where everyone in the Twin City was chilling this past weekend, right? Oh, I agree with you, Ben. There's a lot of shit these niggas don't want to. That's why I look at this committee, and there's a lot of things they don't. Honestly, you're going to see a lot of bullshit come out. I've already seen a lot of bullshit come out. It all comes down to words, and people don't understand it. So then when we don't understand something, we think it's okay because they'll show it to you that it's okay. But it's wrong. Why? You're seeing what happened in New Way. New Way, all these corporations, these companies, nonprofits that were helping. Right. No, and I know you was gonna say something, Robert. Especially when we was talking about the law firm, right? You know what I'm saying? And that's the crazy part. That's the crazy part. We sit here and because we're told that it's okay, because a sheep in wolves clothing told us it's okay, because a false prophet, Profit, told you it was okay. So you think that it's okay. So now that anytime anybody goes up against it, man, hey, what happened this past weekend? He doesn't like to discuss feeding our future. The same corporations were a part of feeding our future. Like what was Gala for Goals event where everyone in Twin City was chilling this past weekend. There's law firms that are still out there getting money that were a part of feeding our future. They're not trying to shut that shit down because they're connections. Yeah, they all know, man. That's the one thing I look at this committee, what came out yesterday. If people weren't watching it, which I guarantee a lot of Minnesotans weren't, because they don't see it. They're more mad at this Elon and Doge. And it's like, come on, man. Honestly, that's what I was going to talk about, really. Because I'm a conservative. I wasn't going to vote Democratic because it was fucking up my community. Right. They switched the name and added Mayor Mike. Yes, they did. If you don't put this shit in these niggas' face, that's the one thing, because I sit over here, right, and I'm seeing all this come out at Feeding Our Future, and it's like, damn, why don't niggas got it? They have to see it to believe it. Not if you're, why don't you look, all this shit is public information, but niggas don't want to go search for it. They don't want to go search for it. So when you seen that Aisha Shaitai came out and was talking about, oh, McAfee had a 300,000, you got paid that much, and they were like, wait, what? So then the Star Tribune came out, wait, he was over $3.3 million. They're like, wait, what? Yeah, people been talking about this shit. Even that, how people, these non-black churches, what the crazy thing of it is, why isn't this fraud committee, they were talking about this DHS and all this fraud. They ain't brought up Shiloh Temple. You got millions of dollars that go over there. Millions. And what hits the streets? We over here buying chicken wings, and gas stations and liquor stores. We're not over here building schools. We're not growing our wealth. People are more worried about their income. Their pockets, that's income. I'm going to say that. That's income. And that's one thing, like I really can't get with a lot of these niggas, because they're more worried about income, not wealth, income. That's why you don't see people out here pushing Claude Anderson. They push you Thomas Sowell or Clarence Thomas. Man, if you don't get them Uncle Tom ass niggas, coon ass motherfuckers out my face, I need motherfuckers that are revolutionary. Because there was a reason why they killed Fred Hampton. There was a reason why they killed Malcolm X. There was a reason why they killed Martin Luther King. And there's a reason why they keep around Al Sharpton, why they keep around Ben Crump. Because they only talk about what pays them. What pays them. Because the uncomfortable things, they're silent. They're silent. I'm going to be honest. And honestly, I don't know where to go anymore with this. Like I said, it's mixed. I won't say discombobulated, but when it really comes down to like what's the better party, I think they're both the same. That's how I feel in my eyes. You know what I'm saying? Like there's no difference. But I did want to talk about there's 3 steps to dismantling this machine, right? And another one that I don't even know if this is right or wrong or whatever, but if you're tired of watching Minnesota turn into a lawless, grifter-friendly wasteland, here's what needs to happen. Flood the Minnesota GOP with new conservative voters. The left counts, and conservatives sitting out elections, every new voter added to the rolls as a step toward dismantling corruption. Number 2, expose the DEI hustle. Just like the MMB inquiry, the diversity, equity, and inclusion isn't about fairness. It's a billion-dollar industry pushing radical ideology while cashing in on state contracts. Call it what it is, a political slush fund disguised as social justice. 3, call out the green new scam happening at Excel Energy. The so-called green revolution isn't about saving the planet. It's about siphoning taxpayer dollars into corporate pockets while energy prices skyrocket. Excel isn't playing both sides, pushing government subsidies while passing the cost onto you, the customer. They don't care about the environment. They care about profit and control. So this isn't just about bad policy. It's a long con. A long con. And the only way to stop it is to go after their ideology, expose the grift, and name names. And that's what you're seeing. And that's, you know, that's the crazy thing, because I was talking to Liver Goose like 2 years ago about feeding our future. And I'll show you my messages to do. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, hey, you're only spotlighting certain parts, just like with Sahan Journal. I said, are you not talking about the connections here? Because you talk about feeding our future, but you stay away from certain topics with it. And I don't understand why. But then when you look into it, you understand why, because they get donations, they get grants. They're paid to stay away from certain shit. That's why when people talk about why isn't what's that, Georgia Ford all over this? Man, have you ever seen the motherfucking organization Black Press be on shit? Because they get grants from the people that need to be talked about. You know, we got more politicians that are actually, you know, what's they want to be superstars. They want to be celebrities. It's not even about good policies anymore. That's where we came so fucked up as a country. It's not even about policy anymore. It's about, yeah, what side you on? You a Democrat or you a Republican? Man, I'm not neither. I'm for the people. I want to live better. I don't care about none of this GD and BD and, you know, Vice Lords, blood, Crip. I don't care about none of that. Just like I don't care about if none of y'all are Democrat. I don't care about if you're Republican. What I care about is bettering our lives. And I don't know how to talk to some of these people, right? So I get frustrated when I go to like a Walter or you know, and having some of these conversations, because I feel like they're not listening. They understand. They want to say they understand, but they don't listen. You know what I'm saying? You're seeing every year people go up to the Capitol and they talk about things. Right. It's performed right. I so agree with you. Ben. That's what it is. We get energy off of performative action. Performative than real community action. You know, I don't know how many times I've heard Reverend Tim Christopher say he wanted to buy a building over in North Minneapolis. Right? That corner store, I believe that it was E&L Grocery. He wanted to buy that. You know, how many times has Don Allen came on social media begging, and I don't mean that in no bad way, but begging people to help out. Begging. You know, just like in 43 minutes, you're going to have a press conference from Lion of Judah about what happened yesterday with these officers. We need some kind of transparency. We can't just, we arrested the person because of this. No, that's not good enough anymore. You don't need to be treating niggas like that. Because the video I seen, he didn't have shit. He didn't have no gun. He didn't have no knife. He didn't have no weapons. What I seen is he was down on the ground and officers punched this motherfucker in the face. You know, that's where I really come hard with too. I really, you know what I'm saying? I don't know who to deal with. You know what I'm saying? Because in Minnesota, they give you two options. They give you Democrats or Republicans. That's why I feel like nothing's going to get done. Nothing. And especially at the state capitol, because have you heard from Walls? Nope. Quiet. Flanagan? She more worried about running, getting Tina Smith's spot. They're more worried about what's going on in the state of Minnesota. All this fraud, because that's the crazy thing. I hear everybody talking about, we should do this, we should do. How are we supposed to do anything until we get to the bottom of this fraud and waste? That should be our number one priority in public safety. Should be the high number two. We should talk about shit else. And education, that's the whole thing of it is. I don't even know. Really, honestly, we need to take it all serious. Education, judicial, You know, how many more Robert Johnsons are out there that spent 29 years behind bars? You know, and the woman that raised him, thank God she was living. She lived 92 years old to see, so he could come out and get that cornbread with the butter on it. You know, it's the small things in life. You know, I was sitting there talking to my mom yesterday about my grandpa, you know, Black Duck, Minnesota. You know, was talking about what year when he passed away, and it was 2004. But it's crazy, you know, because we were talking about what kids were born yet and who wasn't. But it's wild to look back at shit like that and like, what's changed? What's changed? That's what I really think about every day. Of like, what's changed? Because I read stories. I read like Willie Francis. You know, that's my uncle. I read about George Stinney. I was alive during what's the dude's name? Goddamn, in LA. I just talked about him the other day too. But got all that money. He was supposedly a crack kid. You know, and it's like, have we learned anything? Have we learned anything from the move bombing? Because that happened before. That was 1985. So then you got that incident. Then you got the riots out in LA. So two coasts, one on Philadelphia. You got a police department bombing a community. And then LA, you out there, they still out there acting a goddamn fool on the whole community. And how do we rise up? How do we rise up? Right. Oh, I definitely agree with you. It's a corporation, you know, the police, the nonprofits, the GOP, the DFL, energy companies. And I'm glad you pointed it out, Marie, because here's what I think about when it comes to all these motherfuckers being a part, is there was a picture that Krista put up. They were all out at dinner after committee. How are y'all supposed to be? This the one thing of it is, I don't understand how any of these motherfuckers can be nice. But then I understand it is that they're all paid by the same system. So how are you fighting for the people, but yet you're fighting for your system, but it's all ran by the same person? It's all ran by white supremacy. So if we get away from this system, and you know, there's a lot of shit, man. I think over here, lately I've been watching Professor Penn, and just even yesterday I watched last night when Royce put up Action for Liberty when he was on Truth Hurts podcast with Jake and Jesse. And I think Rev asked him the other day if he was running as a Republican. And that matters. You know, how are we going to get the people involved? Right. Yo, you do got to get enough press. You do got to get enough press. You do got to get enough press. You know what I'm saying? Because the day after he announced that he lost, he announced that he was going to run. He announced he was going to run. So, yeah, I don't understand that. But we definitely do need a change in Minnesota. We definitely need a change in our elected officials, because this is what made me see this, right? So if you haven't heard, we all know that there's a bunch of things are being hacked, they're being broken into. Our databases are personal. I mean, not personal information that's private. But new documents, they shed light on what Minneapolis Public Schools District didn't say happened in a 2023 hack.
Good evening. Thanks so much for joining us. First tonight, new investigative reporting shows how little Minneapolis public school officials shared with parents and families after a data breach. That breach happened 2 years ago today when the district alerted people about an encryption event that would paralyze its computer system. It turned out hackers demanded a ransom and eventually posted sensitive about students and teachers online. The district was heavily criticized for how it disclosed the cyber attack. Jennifer Hoff is here with more on what she's learning tonight. Jennifer?
Julie, experts say schools want to reduce liability and will often turn to insurance providers and lawyers first, who advise sharing the least amount of information possible. And that's what those new documents show is exactly what happened inside MPS.
2 years ago, Minneapolis Public Schools was the victim of a cyber attack. The district accused of downplaying what happened when experts say a cyber gang called Medusa demanded $1 million ransom and released sensitive information when the district didn't pay it.
It's a complicated issue. Keep in mind that the school districts are victims too.
Mark Kierlieber is an investigative reporter, spending 18 months looking into what exactly happened at MPS. Public records request revealing the district first contacted its insurance provider, cybersecurity lawyers to negotiate with the hackers, and even the FBI.
Their primary purpose is to conceal information, and we're going to protect our client, the school district, from liability, in this case, by keeping information out of the hands of parents.
What could Minneapolis Public Schools have done better?
Looking at how they reported the incident to the public and how they reported that incident to the FBI tell two different stories. That balancing act is very real.
Kierlieber says it took 7 months then for the district to alert the more than 100,000 people hackers in fact access their data. A problem experts say is growing. Reporting each colored dot on this map is an incident.
It is actually shockingly common.
Doug Levine leads the nation's only nonprofit helping schools, advocating for a nationwide cybersecurity standards practice and federal funds to implement it.
The way this gets better is maybe counterintuitively to what we've seen in this example is by talking more and sharing more about what happened.
The district also responded tonight in an email saying it followed all relevant laws, notifying impacted people when it was able. It also wrote, disclosing its cybersecurity plans makes us more vulnerable to future attacks. And it's doing, Julie, all that it can to prioritize safety.
Are they really, though? Because this is going to affect a lot of people that come from marginalized communities. So are you protecting the people that you... I don't get that shit, man. I really don't. I really, 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 really don't. And it's sad to me as an individual that came up and then, I got out to started to pay attention because I was still out here living wrong in 2020. I was still out here living my life the other way. And then when I saw Darnella Frazier's video on Facebook of, George Floyd, I started to get educated. I started to look at shit differently. I don't know if it's right. I don't know if it's wrong. I just know that that's my perspective. It's my story, and there's plenty of stories out there that make a difference. That's the one crazy thing. It's everybody's talking about this fraud right now, but we should have been talking about it years ago when it was happening. When it was out of control, when we couldn't stop it because nobody would listen to us. And that's why I say, these Republicans, this committee is going on right now, but what is actually going to be done about it? Because I hear about all these fiscal notes and then about the language. How are you helping people if you're not educating them? If we're not educating them and showing them, right? Because we're so worried about immigration. How much? That's the one crazy thing, right? Is I don't know. Yesterday afternoon, it was all about Chicago, right? Because there's a lot of shit going on in Chicago. And a person asked me, like, damn, like, what are you supposed to do? If you're a conservative black man in Chicago, conservative black person, or even white, and you're seeing what's going on in the government out there with your administration, who is the mayor, right? You see what Brandon Johnson is doing. You see what Eric Adams is doing. You see what Tiffany Haynard is doing. You see all this. That's the one crazy thing. They don't never talk about that one mayor that quit. She didn't quit. She was, they recalled her ass. The one, I think it was San Francisco. No, it wasn't. Maybe it was. The Chinese lady Yeah, all over our ass. But they really don't talk about that shit and how that recall out there went, because it was really astonishing to me. Like, we could see so much wrong in our politics, but nobody ever calls it out. You know, that's the one crazy thing, because I've even had some really serious thoughts, you know, over here when it came to politics, because it's hard to me even consider myself as like in the GOP party. I'm not even gonna say Republican, just GOP, because most of them niggas don't even want me to vote. And I'm honestly, I'm tired of living like this. I'm tired of living where my voice doesn't matter. You know, and I'm sitting here thinking of ways, how the fuck can I you know, and at this point, it's either I'm gonna die someday, right? Doesn't matter if it's today, doesn't matter if it's tomorrow, I know I'm gonna die. Right. So I need to live it to the max. I need to, and what I mean by that, by living to the max, is I need to do it by the max. I can't sit here and be, oh, well, you know, you can't be going that hard because, you know, your stroke, because your brain bleed. I don't got time for that no more. People are suffering. And honestly, is that something that we should be talking about at the Capitol? Yes. You know, Iowa, state capital. I remember that shit like it's like, because they try to call that a mini coup, just like J6. And then yesterday, something happened at their capital in Iowa, and people were arrested, and, you know, and it's like, I don't understand that. You know, it's like, I just want better. And it's like, if people see that their privilege or their rights are being taken away, or they feel like they're going to be fractured, they get all emotional. For what? Get up and fight back. You know, I get tired of hearing people talk about, well, I didn't know, so I just let it happen. What do you mean? Go out there and know better. How can we as people want to sit here and keep on getting fucked over without fighting fire with fire? Because you can't expect people to keep on being screwed over and not do nothing. You can't. Now, I will sit there and say that. You know, I see that all the things they're doing in Minneapolis with the public safety building on West Lake Street or East Lake Street, I believe it is. You know, down there by the train tracks over on Hiawatha. Is that going to fix anything? Because we've been screaming about that area for a long time. Just like with these cameras, they're only going to put them in certain areas. Why? Why are you going to put it on Penn and Broadway? Why are you going to put it on Lawndale Broadway? Because those are high areas where you know you're going to catch the most crooks. And they're going to be black and brown. The same way where you're going to put these red light cameras all over. I don't get it. I don't get it. Because they're not going to put them in areas where they need to be. You're not going to put them in areas where, that's the one thing somebody asked me about Ward 4 Minneapolis. And we were talking about area and median income, AMIs. And most people don't know what that is or whatever. But so I was looking through there, and, you know, in that area, you only need 3,100 votes to win an election. You only need 3,100 votes, because that's all Vital won by. That's all she had. So I don't know if, yeah, because it's you. When you look at North Minneapolis, there's one little spot over there by Theo Worth, where she lives, where Vital lives, that the area and median income is high, the AMI is high, the wealth is high. But then you look at some of her other districts, at her other wards, you know, in there, and they're no. You look at the area where 57th, or not 57th, 53rd, or 52nd, where they have the in Humboldt, where they have the house at. Look at the AMIs. We don't need this wealth gap. We have to shorten it, because we keep on worried about this income, and we're going to get left behind. We're going to get left behind. And I'm dead ass serious. We're going to get left behind in a system of where we should be equal. We should be, that equity should be there, but it's not. And will it ever be? I don't know. But that's something that we need to be worried about is the wealth gap disparity and not the income disparity. Because I will tell you like this, I don't even get it. I'm not going to talk about my personal private information, but it's crazy of how you try to do better in the world and people don't see you like that. They always want to bring up your past. They always want to bring up, well, you're not changed. You just, you're still that same person from, no, you don't even know me anymore. You choose, and I don't disagree with you, but you choose to walk away. You chose to be something that you felt like you could, whatever, I don't know what the fuck to call it, but, that's the one, we have to talk about. And I don't believe that a lot of people will, or they won't, and that's sad to me. It's crazy. Because there's a lot of conversations that need to be had out here. And we're not having them because people, and we're choosing them because here's what a lot of people won't want to say. They don't want to say, right? Is when it comes to the waste and the fraud and the corruption, a lot of it happens from our friends. So we don't want to call them out. We don't want to look at them differently because we have a personal relationship. That's my friend. Is it your friend that they're screwing over the community? Just before I got on here, Marcus made a post. It's my man's. But I said, respectfully, man, we got to stop supporting. I didn't put it this way to him, but this is what I should have put to him, right? We got to stop supporting the people just because they do good. It isn't good because it distracts from something else that's going on. It distracts from the racism, from the systemic in our communities, the policies. Every time they want to talk about one situation, it's all good. Just like the first annual braids. Why is anything the first annual after George Floyd? It should have already been trying to do it. I don't get that shit. To be honest, I really don't. I don't understand it anymore. So, man, a long day today. We got into some shit, some good conversation. But I'm gonna get up out of here. It's Tuesday. We're back Wednesday. Like I said, I'm going to still do that episode talking about these 990 forms and breaking it down for you because I need to talk to this Max Reimer about this father's project bill before that goes any further because I really need to ask questions of why is this nonprofit only bringing in so much amount of money, but then like almost 53% of it goes to 3 administrators. Why $1 million, over $1 million, go to 3 people? So I don't understand it. So with that being said, I hope that me and Max have this conversation. He reaches out to me. I did email him. I hit him up on Twitter because it's time to get involved. It's time to not just talk about it, but to be about it. So with that being said, let's call it what it is. No matter if it comes to waste, no matter if it comes to fraud, and especially if it's illegal, call it what it is. Illegal. Don't lie to the people and be like, oh, that's legal, just because in your mind, as long as people don't know, it's okay. Well, that's not how it goes. So with that being said, man, win or fail, freedom or jail, heaven or hell, and wish me well. Here is No Refunds by Don Tripp.
It's no refunds. Yeah. No refunds. Yeah. Yeah. It's no refunds. Yeah. Yeah. It's no refunds. Nah. It's no refunds. Nah. It's cause there's no such thing as too wet. I'm diving in head first without a life vest. Feel too good, girl, we gotta run it back. You can tell your last nigga you ain't never coming back. It's no refunds. Baby, you was my dessert and we don't leave crumbs. Girl, you know the pussy wetter than the beach storm. I'm going in so deep, I feel reborn. And as long as you can take it, I'ma keep going. Got it papping, I like it nasty. My heart melts when you glance back at me. Bring me that pussy, I can wait to unwrap it. Oh my God, I'm about to nail you to the mattress. Spread those legs, about to start a whole